Well, good morning. It's Wednesday morning, and today we're going to read Acts 7 1 through 7. The high priest said, "Are these things so?" And Stephen said, "Brothers and fathers, hear me. The God of glory appeared to our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he lived in Haran, and said to him, 'Go out from your land and from your kindred, and go into the land that I will show you.' Then he went out from the land of the Chaldeans and lived in Haran. And after his father died, God removed him from there into this land in which you are now living. Yet he gave him no inheritance in it, not even a foot's length, but promised to give it to him as a possession and to his offspring after him, though he had no child. And God spoke to this effect, that his offspring would be sojourners in a land belonging to others, who would enslave them and afflict them 400 years. But I will judge the nation that they serve, said God, and after that they shall come out and worship me in this place." So, in typical biblical fashion, Stephen's asked to account for his proclamation of Jesus, and he starts with Abraham, a long time ago. Starts with Abraham, when Abraham lived in Kuwait, which was then called Babylonia, or the land of the Chaldeans. And Abraham then moves to Haran in Syria. It's a city that's still there. And from there he moves down into Canaan, which is where Israel now is. This is all about 1,800 years before Christ. So this is a very long time ago. That's and a very, very long time ago for us. But this is the history. And he says he didn't give Abraham Canaan land or the promised land until his descendants had been enslaved by another nation for 400 years. And that's their sojourn in Egypt after the Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt, and went there and did all of that, and his brothers came and lived there, and they served the Egyptians until the Egyptians had forgotten all this history and had forgotten Joseph and became antagonistic toward them and quite cruel, and so the Hebrews prayed, and of course were released on the night of Passover. But we're getting ahead of ourselves anyway. So that's where Stephen goes to talk about Jesus. Not, well, Jesus was God and man, and not the way we would do it, but he goes back and he talks about it historically, and this is the first real sermon in Acts, except for one that we're going to read on Saturday, which is in Acts 2. But at any rate, here we see Stephen's preaching and how they go through history, and they will number each time in the Bible where the Messiah is prophesied, and show that Jesus is, the fulfillment of these prophecies. And that's the way that the very early church thought about him. He was the fulfillment of prophecy, first of all. He was, beyond that, he was all these other things. But as church history progresses and you get more Greek influence in the church, and all of a sudden it goes from a sort of a historical account to more of a metaphysical account, and you get things like, well, he was God and man at the same time, and what all that means. And that took several hundred years of questioning to figure out, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. So that's the beginning of Stephen's preaching. Stephen is enormously popular. Stephen has the face of an angel. So Stephen is good looking, and Stephen smiles, and Stephen radiates joy and grace, and everybody loves Stephen. And so, of course, the high priest has him stoned to death, and that's what's coming. But we'll get there. So for now, be glad that you're not going to be stoned to death today, and give thanks to God for those who came before us, even Abraham and on back. Give thanks to God for them, and live in a way that inherits and appreciates that legacy. Have a great day.